So what President Oakley is referring to is the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative, which is a collaborative effort to help advance institutional effectiveness of the California community colleges. One of the goals of the initiative, and this is how it's kind of related to accreditation, is to help colleges and to reduce the number of accreditation sanctions and audit issues. And most importantly, as Trustee Archuleta, I think, mentioned, it's really the focus of everything that we do is to enhance the system's ability to more effectively serve students. This initiative is jointly administered by the Chancellor's Office and the College of the Canyons. The major components of the initiative include development of statewide indicators per SB 852, that's the Budget Act of 2014, and SB 860. It's also to make technical assistance teams, and they're now calling them partnership resource teams, and implementation grants available to colleges that are interested in receiving such assistance, and then also to provide professional development opportunities. With regard to the statewide indicator system that the Chancellor's Office is required to develop, we understand it must include student performance and outcomes, accreditation status, fiscal viability, and programmatic compliance with state and federal guidelines. The system is, we expect, will draw heavily on the existing indicators and publicly available data. So we expect they'll probably be looking at the scorecard data that, that this board has seen every year as required by statute. The key thing is that colleges must establish their own local goals as they relate to these system measures. And we must do that using our local collegial consultation processes. And I think the good thing about our college is that with our 2010-2016 Educational Master Plan, we started doing that, where we developed goals and established measurable targets, and that we basically assess ourselves annually, looking at our progress in reaching those goals every year. So I think this requirement for some colleges is very difficult because they've not been through this process before. We've done it before, and we were intending to do it anyways as we begin the process of updating our strategic and educational master plan next year. But this will be part of, I think, some of the looking at the data and the consistent measures across the system. There are numerous workshops that have been scheduled just recently. Actually, they're happening in the month of March, and there are a number of representatives from our college that are already attending or planning to attend the one at Fullerton College. So rest assured, we're watching this, and the information is really just coming to us, but we're confident that we're prepared to do what we need to do. And also, just before leaving just the accreditation subject, I just want to thank Board President Kellogg for acknowledging the work of my faculty co-chair, Professor Jeff Wheeler. He was a wonderful partner in that endeavor and a great leader, and really helped to set the tone of kind of the self-reflective aspect of that work. So thank you for acknowledging him.
Thank you. Jeff. Board Chair recognizes Trustee Otto.
Yeah, just a point on the institutional effectiveness plan that's going forward. They've actually sent out surveys to members of the community college community all over the state. I think probably all the Board of Trustees has received those, and to talk about this program. And I know I've personally filled out those surveys and programs that I might be able to assist in, willingness to be a member of teams in various places. But when I saw the need to link it with how the goals were of college, I was concerned. And so I called President Oakley and said, how are we doing on this, and do we need to do some work? And he said, you know, we're pretty closely aligned already with what they're doing because of what we've been doing for the last few years. And I was actually with Chancellor Harris in Sacramento not too long ago, and I raised this to him, and he said, you guys are fine right now. What we're trying to do is to get people like you out to the places that haven't been thinking this way for a long time and need some help. That's why we've got these sort of triage teams that are going out, and it's good to hear that a lot of people from the college are signing up and going off and doing those.
Thank you all very much. And again, great job. And I may get to say thank you, but to everyone that put the effort in, it is a huge effort, and so we appreciate it, obviously. And the results are outstanding. We are moving on. That was just informational item only. So we're now to item 4. This is 4.1. This is a resolution of support of changes to community college funding to include differential funding for high-cost career technology educational programs. Can I entertain a motion to approve
moved.
the agenda? I'm sorry, was that Trustee Zia?
Yes.
Motion by Trustee Zia, second by Trustee Baxter. Discussion on this item. I will only say that Cabrillo College Board President Rachel Spencer, she had contacted me probably a month or so ago on this item, but it affects everybody in the system. On the resolution, I'm just going to read. Again, this is probably more details than some people would want, but it's in the entire resolution. It does state, and I think that's the important part. This bill is going to request that the community college chancellor convene a group of experts in career technology education, business, or industry to research ways to address issues related to implementing differential funding for credit-bearing, high-cost, high-demand courses at the community colleges. And the other point I just want to make among this entire resolution is that Long Beach City College, and we are not alone, we're like everybody else, the Career Technology Education, CTEs, programs receive less in FTES funding, that's full-time equivalently students, funding than they cost to operate, with some healthcare-related programs funded at only 1/4 to 1/2 of their actual operating costs. So we're hoping with this resolution picks up momentum, the Assembly bill, and that they do move forward to make some changes. And so I appreciate everyone supporting this, and I know my credit to the board president from Cabrillo College, Rachel Spencer. I know she's been taking a lead on it as well. Other members of the board at this time? If not, Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll on item 4.1, the resolution of support?
Irma Archuleta.
Aye.
Virginia Baxter.
Aye.
Jeff Kellogg.
Aye.
Doug Otto.
Aye.
And Sunny Zia.
Aye.
Carries, thank you. Moves on. Consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar. First, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar. Can I entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar? Motion by Trustee Otto, second by Trustee Archuleta. Items to remove on the consent calendar?
Item 5.12.
I'm sorry, which one?
5.12.
5.12. Other items? Hearing none, we'll approve the consent calendar with the exception of item 5.12. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the consent calendar.
You're moving a little quick. I have to remove that item and change.
It's all right.
It's just so slow tonight. Okay, could I have the motion on the consent?
There is the motion and second on the floor for the consent calendar. Do I have to repeat who the
Yes.
motion by Trustee Otto, second by Trustee Archuleta to approve the consent calendar with the exception of 5.12. Madam Secretary, if you could please call the roll.
Irma Archuleta. Aye. Virginia Baxter.
Aye.
Jeff Kellogg.
Aye.
Doug Otto.
Aye.
And Sunny Zia.
Aye.
Item 5.12. One moment, let me. There we go. This is on purchase order ratification. This is an action item. Board of Trustees ratify the purchase orders and change orders issuance for the period of February 2nd, 2015 through February 13th, 2015 in the amount of $77,096.67 as submitted. So can I have a motion to approve this item and a second, and then we can have discussion on item 5.12.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Otto,
Second.
second by Trustee Baxter. Motion second, discussion. Chair recognizes Trustee Zia.
Yes, thank you, President Kellogg. And I just once again want to applaud our staff for providing additional details and itemizing these expenditures. It certainly it looks like we have increased transparency. There's just one question. I know that all of us were at the CCLC seminar, or conference in November, and I see this dating back to August. And yet I don't see any of our travel expenditures. I think I believe it was about $1,200 per board member, roughly. Where is that codified? Should it be in this report, or how? I don't see it here. Can somebody help me understand?
I know this isn't the category for that, but
These are purchase orders.
Turn it
Lieutenant
over to
President
Vice
Oakley.
President Gable to explain how we account for those.
Vice President Gable.
Travel expenditures do not appear on a purchase order. They're not required to have a purchase order, so those will not appear on here.
Well, where do they appear?
The travel expenditures are shown on the expenditure report. So on the quarterly expenditure report that we bring to the board, there's a line item for travel and conferences, and that's where you would see the amount that has been spent year to date based upon that quarterly expenditure report, as well as the budgeted amount for travel and conferences.
Okay, when was the last time? I thought it was last month, wasn't it? That the quarterly, or am I?
In January, we brought the second quarterly report to the board for approval, so that included the expenditures that had been incurred as of December 31st, 2014.
Okay, because I just don't recall seeing that. Was it itemized, or did I just miss it?
Yeah, it's an itemized line item under the other services and operating expenditures of the unrestricted general fund. You'll see a line item that says travel and conferences.
Okay, so is the board travel lumped into the entire district travel then?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is there anything else excluded from this report besides travel? Because it's that we need to be, I need to be aware of personally. Because if
Utilities are excluded. I'd have to look at my purchasing book on what we don't issue purchase orders on, but utilities, we don't issue purchase orders. We don't issue purchase orders for health and welfare benefits. We don't issue purchase orders for any payroll taxes that are issued, petty cash reimbursements, that type of thing.
Okay, so if they reach a delegated authority, over a delegated authority to the board president, how is it getting approved?
I'm sorry, what subject are we now on? I have item 5.12.
For the
purchase order
purchases that are not codified here, I just want to know what the approval mechanism is, since, it's
approval-
not showing here. I haven't seen it anywhere else. So how do we approve those if it exceeds the delegated authority, or in this case is under $25,000? Is there a certain policy that we don't see these expenditures for the board's approval? Am I missing something here?
It is in our board policy on what we issue purchase orders on. I don't remember that board policy off the top of my head, but in the board policy, it says that we will follow the purchasing manual, and so that's kind of codified in there. And then the purchasing manual is about a 60 to 70 page document that details out everything that a purchase order is on. Basically, the policy that allows us to make expenditures that don't appear on purchase orders is the budget approval. So when the adopted budget is approved, that is authorizing all of the individual departments to spend within their budget authority. So as long as they spend within their budget authority, it is an approved expenditure. Again, of course, as long as it doesn't violate any education code or any other guideline as an allowable expenditure.
Okay, and the
Okay.
purchasing manual was approved by the board? Is that how we did it in the past? Is that a policy or is that a practice? Because I've seen this get mixed up before.
I'm sorry, your question again? What
The
was it?
purchasing manual that Vice President Gable is referring to, is that something that we've adopted as a policy, or is that just the practice and procedures?
That's an administrative regulation, and so the board has delegated the authority to the superintendent president to make expenditures in accordance with the budget that is adopted by the board.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Other questions on item 5.12? None?
President,
Chair recognizes trustee
I
Archuleta.
was just wondering what these questions
had relevance to this. I just didn't see
I
it.
was attempting to bring it back to 5.12, but
Yeah.
the question
I'm just trying to see what else is omitted from this report. That's all.
Okay.
To answer Trustee Archuletta's question.
All right, there's a motion and a second on the floor for item 5.12. No other questions at this time on that item. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the purchase order ratification.
Irma Archuleta,
Aye.
Virginia Baxter,
Aye.
Jeff Kellogg,
Aye.
Doug Otto,
Aye.
and Sunny Zia.
Aye.
All right, we're moving forward. That concludes the consent calendar. We're now to Human Resources. Item 6.1, Superintendent President Contract Extension. This will be an action item. Just the recommendation action that the Board of Trustees approve a 2-year extension and restructure of the agreement dated July 23rd, 2013 for the employment of Eli Oakley as their Superintendent President as submitted. Can I begin with, put a motion and a second on the floor, and then we can open it up for discussion.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Baxter,
Second.
second by Trustee Archuleta. There is a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion. We also have here our legal counsel that represents the Board of Trustees that can answer any questions. So at this time, there is a motion and a second on the floor. Questions, members of the board?
I have a
can-
question.
Okay. Chair recognizes Trustee Zia.
Mr. Covert, can you please, earlier we heard that there's an education code, 72411A, that says every educational administrator shall be employed and all other administrators may be employed for a contract of up to 4 years in duration, and the governing board members may at any time terminate and re-employ the administrator, and that's for the term of 4 years. Can you tell me if by way of us extending this contract 2 more years and essentially going for making it a 6-year term, would we be in violation of this education code section that I just cited?
Thank you very much. And the short answer to that question is no. This is an extension to the term of the current contract for 2 years. Therefore, the board can extend the contract to June 30 of 2019. If the board wishes, the board could, instead of going to June 30, 2019, could go in effect 4 years from this date and say, for example, make the contract extension to the end of February, which would be February 28, 2019.
I'm sorry, maybe my math is wrong. When you say 4 years, isn't the current contract from July 2013 and it's already 4 years till 2017, isn't it?
No, we have to look at where we are in the contract, not from where we were. So I was tasked to give a document that would provide, as the agenda item indicates, for a 2-year extension.
Okay, so are you saying that we're, when you say now, shouldn't we impose a new contract date and go for a 4-year term from July 2015 to 2019?
I would answer that question yes and no. When you say impose a new date, this document doesn't impose a new date. This document imposes an extension of the current date for 2 years, which is within the 4-year period. Then I provided an alternative based upon input that was received earlier today, that if you wanted to limit the document to no more than 4 years as opposed to looking to a 2-year extension, you could indicate in the agreement that the ending date will be February 28, 2019.
So in your legal opinion, you don't believe that we're going to be violating the Ed Code section 72411A?
No, Trustee Zia, I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you for your question.
Other members of the board? I was going to say that we did have a closed session on this item. We had the trustees and legal counsel. Legal counsel represents the Board of Trustees, not Superintendent President Oakley. So we had many questions there as well. That was going to be my lead into everything. Other members of the board at this time? Wishing to comment, questions, any? There is a motion, a second on the floor.
Excuse me.
Chair recognizes Trustee Otto.
Yeah, and so in an abundance of caution, what I would recommend is that with regard to the proposed changes to the agreement, that in paragraph 1, where it says that the agreement shall be for an additional 2 years with Mr. Oakley's employment ending on June 30th, 2019, that we change that to February 28, 2019. I think that addresses any legal issue that somebody might want to raise. So that I would propose that as an amendment to the contract that's before us.
And if I may, you see that date, June 30, 2019, for example, in the recital. So I think consistent with your amendment, the dates in the agreement that specifically said June 30 would be amended by a motion, if approved by the board, to read February 28, 2019 throughout the document.
That's my intention.
So let me then ask the question to clarify for our secretary. So the changes, and I'm going to ask the maker of the second of the motion if they would like to have this. So the changes are again the following?
The changes are where the contract currently represents the date of June 30, 2019, to back that up to February 28, 2019. And if that's acceptable to the maker, then
And that was going to be my
Proceed
question.
accordingly.
Is that acceptable
to me.
to the maker in the second of the motion? Okay, then that is then the motion on the floor.
And if I could,
Chair recognizes trustee Otto.
so it's now as amended, correct? That's the motion, the motion as amended changes that date throughout.
yes.
It's my understanding that a decision was made to, at the last meeting, to agendize this issue of contract extension with no other changes to the contract except those that would be required by law. That's why we have a lawyer who was not only involved in noting the changes that needed to be made by law, but had quite frankly been involved in the drafting of the contract earlier. And that's what's happened. We are, the recommendations are to basically change the term of the contract and to update according to changes in the STRS law and other laws in the state of California to make the contract legal. And that's all that's been accomplished. There's no additional income, there's no additional, we haven't renegotiated the terms of any of the provisions of the contract except those that would be required by law. Is that fair?
Yes, I was given the task by the board president to do that because our office has circulated to all our clients the fact that Cal STRS had issued revised regulations. What they had done was they had changed the definition of earnable compensation under Cal STRS, and then they, in effect, gave further regulations a year for all public agencies to engage in restructure. So as cited up here in this agenda item that was prepared, which I assisted in the drafting of, it reflects that fact. And then that fact is also then incorporated into the contract itself at paragraph 4A.
Other members of the board? I'll just, and then I'll recognize, make a comment, then I'll recognize Trustee Zia. In the direction to our legal counsel, also, people may ask the question about the actual document. The actual document that is reviewed by the board in closed session, that will become a public document, but it is not something we put out for the public because we're the ones that have to deal with that in a personnel issue. So we looked at the contract, it then will become a public document. But I do want to emphasize in that document, there is some changes in language that I believe are much more clear, not on terms as far as compensation, but it breaks it down much more to me, much more transparent, and there's more clarity, in particular with with mileage. So the calculations are there. Again, that's part because of what was mentioned with the legal requirements, but I also think it's a clearer document so people can look at these numbers much more and not be confused, hopefully. So there are some things in this document that the intent was to clarify and to make it more plain to people to see what the actual costs are. There are no calculations that will mean more money. It just spells it out much more cleanly. I think is that fair?
Well, that was
being
the
an
goal
attorney-
of this drafter for your review.
You're right. but it will become public after it is passed. So anyway, Chair recognizes Trustee Zia.
Yes, Mr. Covert, can you explain how the members of the public can opine on this contract? I mean, is there an opportunity to have this document be reviewed by the public before we take a vote? Is it really, can we discuss compensation in closed session or agree to compensation, even if it's a carryover in closed session?
Well, several things, if I may. What the Brown Act says is that there will be a summary of the proposed recommended action. So we have a summary of a proposed recommended action that says approve a 2-year extension and restructure to the agreement dated July 23rd, 2013 for the employment of Eloy O. Oakley as the superintendent president as submitted. And then following that, there is an explanation as to the nature of the term and the restructure. That is the notice that's required under the Brown Act for the public to comment. And as I alluded to earlier, there were public comments before the closed session item, and then there were 2 public comments that
My question is on public comments on the provisions of the contract.
the
What if
pub-
somebody wants to opine on the specific
and
provisions?
certainly, and as Mr. Kellogg said, once the contract is approved by the board, it's a matter of public record and can be commented upon at any time by anybody. And it's also, of course, a matter of public record.
Okay, so what you're telling us is that the public can opine after we approve, and what
Well, I heard quite a bit of opining myself
on the
before
specific
this
provisions of the
contract
contract, Mr.
was
Covert?
approved. Well, exactly. That's what we heard previously when those of us were here before the closed session as well as this session.
No,
That's the
I think
nature
you're
of-
misunderstanding my question. My question is whether the members of the public can opine on the specific provisions of our superintendent's contract, and whether or not, I mean, what good is an opinion if it's after an approval? Is my question. What is legally
Well,
required?
If I may, I think that's more an argument than a question. I've tried to answer it by saying the board, as has your president, the board has the right to review the document and make changes. There was a lengthy discussion, and in fact, in open session, changes have occurred with respect to the ending date of the document. And that is the process envisioned by the Brown Act, and that's the process that we followed with the board first, with me representing them as its legal representative, and subsequently out here in open session.
Other members of the board at this time?
I guess
Chair recognizes Trustee Otto.
Thank you. I guess I would just add that it's my understanding that the way contract negotiations go on is that the board is responsible and signed those contracts, and the general public is not a party to those negotiations. And once the contract is completed and adopted, then there are plenty of opportunities to comment, but it's not a free-for-all. It's
Well, I would say this. This is not a public works contract. This is not a contract that's subject to public bidding. This is not a document that's let pursuant to certain specifications in which there's a bid process. This is a contract that the Brown Act authorizes be met, negotiated between the board, and then ultimately the board does not take action in closed session. The board takes action in open session. And at that point in time, the board is approving the document, and then it becomes a matter of public record.
Other members of the board?
We just call
Chair
for a
rec-
question.
I have one more question, because this is not in your write-up. How much is the value of the contract since you've revised it in this revision? Or clarified it, I should say.
Well, my understanding is, and as it's set up here, is these amounts are included in the annual base salary, so the amounts are the same. I have discussed that and confirmed that with the Vice President for Finance on that matter.
And would you say it's $320,568?
I would defer to the exact dollar amount to the Vice President for Fiscal Services.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's the amount that's listed in the amended contract, and it's currently the same amount that the superintendent president is making at this point in time before the revision of this contract.
Okay, because the amount that is in the current contract is $264,348.
That amount that you quoted was the amount that was the original contract from the 4 years. There has been increases to that were provided for within the contract language. For instance, back in June of 2014, the board authorized and reported out in a board meeting that the superintendent president would get a 2% increase effective July 1st, 2015. So where we were giving a 2% ongoing increase and a 2% off schedule increase to the entire management team effective July 1st, 2014, the board authorized the superintendent president to only get a 2% on and not effective July 1st, but effective January 1st of 2015. And so that went into effect from that point on. And then the other difference is the mileage and the district paid STRS that were both provisions in the contract that had been paid. And so those amounts are just being rolled into the base salary to get to the $320,568.